The battlefield was silent. Not the peaceful silence that comes after a calm evening. This was a different kind of silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. The kind that settles over a place where violence has just ended.
If you want more content like this, subscribe now and comment below.
Along a muddy road near the Belgian village of Cels on the morning of December 25, 1944, several armored vehicles stood frozen in place. Some were blackened by fire. Others were scarred by shell impacts. Smoke still drifted from twisted metal. The cold winter air carried the smell of burned fuel and wet earth. To anyone passing through, it looked like just another battlefield from the Battle of the Bulge. Another stretch of road where tanks had fought and men had died. But there was something unusual here. British soldiers walking among the wrecks noticed details that did not immediately make sense. Tracks crossed and recrossed the road. Shell impacts pointed in different directions. One destroyed tank sat far from where it should have been. Another showed signs that its crew had attempted a desperate maneuver moments before disaster struck. Somewhere within this wreckage was a story that began when a British tanker reached the front line expecting another difficult day of war and ended with one of the most feared armored vehicles of the Second World War appearing in the distance. To understand what happened, the pieces must be put back together. The story begins several days earlier. December 1944 had brought one of the greatest surprises of the war in Western Europe. On December 16, German forces launched a massive offensive through the Ardennes forest. Allied commanders had believed the Germans were too weak to attempt such an operation. They were wrong. German infantry, artillery, and armored formations crashed into American positions across a wide front. Roads filled with refugees. Communications broke down. Entire units became separated. Confusion spread faster than accurate information. The offensive created what would later become known as the Battle of the Bulge. Among the German formations pushing westward was the powerful 2nd Panzer Division. Its mission was ambitious: advance rapidly, exploit weaknesses in Allied defenses, and drive deep into Belgium before the Allies could organize an effective response. For several days, the Germans achieved remarkable progress. Meanwhile, British forces were being rushed toward threatened sectors to help stabilize the situation. One of the many British tankers involved in this effort belonged to the British 29th Armoured Brigade, part of the famous 11th Armoured Division. These men were veterans. Many had fought across Normandy after D-Day. They had survived months of difficult combat. They understood armored warfare. They understood danger. Yet even experienced soldiers could not always predict what waited around the next corner. As Christmas approached, freezing temperatures covered the countryside. Frost clung to fields. Ice formed along roadsides. The weather made movement difficult for both sides. The British tanker at the center of this story had spent much of the previous days moving between assembly areas, waiting for orders, and preparing for action. Like thousands of soldiers across Europe, he had little idea how the larger battle was unfolding. Information arrived slowly. Rumors arrived quickly. Some reports claimed German advances were collapsing. Others claimed German tanks had broken through everywhere. The truth lay somewhere in between. By December 24, Allied commanders were increasingly concerned about German armored forces operating near Celles, a small Belgian village southwest of Dinant. German spearheads had reached surprisingly far into Allied territory. If left unchecked, they could create serious problems. British armored units received orders to move forward. The tanker and his crew prepared their vehicle before dawn. Every crew member followed familiar routines. Ammunition was checked. Fuel levels were confirmed. Radios were tested. Engines were inspected. These procedures were ordinary. The day ahead would not be. As the tank moved toward the front, the crew passed evidence of recent fighting. Damaged vehicles lined sections of road. Abandoned equipment sat in ditches. Villagers watched cautiously from doorways and windows. The further they advanced, the stranger the landscape became. Military traffic moved in multiple directions. Some units pushed forward. Others withdrew. Nobody seemed entirely certain where the front line actually existed. This uncertainty was common during the Battle of the Bulge. The German offensive had created a fluid battlefield where positions changed rapidly. For tank crews, uncertainty was dangerous. A hidden anti-tank gun could destroy a vehicle in seconds. An enemy tank could appear with little warning. A wrong turn could place a crew directly in front of hostile forces. Despite these risks, the British advance continued. Hours passed. The crew settled into the rhythm of armored movement. Engines roared. Tracks rattled. Radios crackled with occasional messages. Then small clues began appearing. The first clue seemed insignificant. Fresh tracks. Heavy tracks. Not the tracks of trucks or half-tracks. Tank tracks. Large ones. Someone noticed them crossing a road ahead. At first, nobody thought much about it. Tank tracks existed everywhere during major operations. But more appeared. Then more. The pattern became difficult to ignore. The tracks seemed recent. Very recent. The British crew could not know it then, but they were following traces left by some of Germany's most powerful armored vehicles. The next clue came from local civilians. Belgian villagers had witnessed German tanks moving through nearby areas. Their descriptions varied, but several mentioned unusually large vehicles. Large enemy tanks always attracted attention. The reports reached Allied soldiers. Some dismissed them. Others did not. German heavy tanks had earned reputations that extended far beyond their actual numbers. Names like Tiger and Panther inspired concern wherever they appeared. As afternoon approached, the British force continued searching for German armor. The weather remained cold and gray. Visibility shifted constantly. Low clouds drifted across the countryside. Patches of mist lingered in low ground. Every hill concealed unknown possibilities. Then came another clue. A disabled Allied vehicle. Its damage immediately attracted attention. The penetration hole was large, unusually large. Veteran soldiers examined it carefully. Many drew the same conclusion. Whatever had fired the shot possessed considerable power. Questions multiplied. Where was the enemy vehicle now? How many were present? Were they still moving west? Or were they preparing defensive positions? Nobody had answers. The puzzle continued growing. As daylight began fading, reports arrived indicating German armored elements were near Celis. British commanders accelerated their efforts. Units spread out to locate and destroy the threat. The tanker and his crew moved cautiously through unfamiliar terrain. Every crossroads became important. Every ridgeline demanded attention. The battlefield seemed to hold its breath. Then came the moment that changed everything. A crew member spotted movement far ahead. At first it appeared almost insignificant. A dark shape. Nothing more. The object stood at a considerable distance, partially obscured by terrain, difficult to identify. Binoculars appeared, eyes focused. The shape became clearer, and suddenly every man understood what he was seeing. The silhouette was unmistakable. The broad turret, the massive gun, the enormous hull, a Tiger II. Known to Allied soldiers as the King Tiger, one of the most heavily armored tanks ever fielded during the war. The discovery immediately transformed the situation. Minutes earlier, uncertainty had dominated. Now there was clarity. The enemy had been found. Unfortunately, the enemy was among the most dangerous opponents imaginable. The Tiger II possessed formidable armor protection and a powerful 88mm gun capable of destroying Allied tanks at long range. British tank crews respected these machines for good reason. Defeating one required skill, teamwork, favorable positioning, or a combination of all three. The appearance of a Tiger II explained many of the clues discovered earlier: the damaged vehicle, the massive tracks, the civilian reports. The puzzle pieces were beginning to fit together. But understanding the threat did not eliminate it. The British crew faced a difficult reality. The Tiger II had likely seen them as well. The next few minutes would determine survival. The distance between the opposing vehicles mattered enormously. At long range, the Tiger II enjoyed significant advantages. British crews understood this. They needed terrain, concealment, movement, anything that could reduce the enemy's strengths. The battlefield suddenly became a game of observation and timing. Both sides searched for opportunities. Both sides attempted to gain favorable positions. Both sides knew mistakes could prove fatal. The British tank maneuvered carefully. Its crew worked with intense concentration. Every movement carried consequences. Every second mattered. Across the cold Belgian landscape, the Tiger II remained a terrifying presence. Even stationary, it projected power. Its size alone impressed observers. Its combat reputation amplified the effect. Yet reputation did not guarantee victory. History repeatedly showed that even powerful tanks remained vulnerable under the right conditions. The challenge lay in creating those conditions. As the engagement developed, additional British forces entered the area. This changed the equation. The confrontation was no longer a simple duel. Coordination became increasingly important. German crews faced growing pressure from multiple directions. British units attempted to exploit mobility and numbers. The Tiger II crew relied upon armor, firepower, and experience. The resulting battle unfolded across fields, roads, and small rises in the terrain. Visibility shifted constantly. Targets appeared and disappeared. Moments of action alternated with moments of uncertainty. For soldiers involved, the experience felt chaotic. For historians examining events afterward, the complexity created challenges. Different participants remembered different details. Timelines occasionally conflicted. Positions remained debated. Yet certain facts emerged clearly. The German advance near Schelles had reached its limit. Allied pressure was increasing rapidly. Fuel shortages plagued German units. Mobility suffered. Opportunities narrowed. The Tiger II that had appeared so threatening in the distance now found itself operating within an increasingly difficult situation. British forces continued pressing forward. Artillery support became available. Additional armored elements contributed to the fight. The battlefield gradually shifted against the Germans. As darkness approached, the situation deteriorated further for German crews. Retreat routes became uncertain. Mechanical problems affected some vehicles. Fuel shortages became critical. The Battle of the Bulge was beginning to turn. Near Schelles, this transformation became visible. The Tiger II remained dangerous, but danger alone could not overcome every obstacle. The British tanker and his comrades witnessed the gradual collapse of German momentum. The enemy still fought hard. The enemy still possessed powerful weapons. Yet the larger situation increasingly favored the Allies. Eventually, the fighting around Schelles reached its conclusion. German armored forces suffered heavy losses. Several vehicles were destroyed or abandoned. Others attempted withdrawal. Some never escaped. The Tiger II that had once appeared in the distance as an almost unstoppable threat became part of a broader battlefield story. A story shaped not only by armor thickness and gun caliber, but also by fuel supplies, terrain, logistics, coordination, and timing. The next morning, silence returned. Soldiers walked among the wreckage. They studied tracks, examined damage, collected information. Without realizing it, they were reconstructing the same puzzle we have followed. Each destroyed vehicle represented a clue. Each shell impact told part of the story. Each abandoned position revealed another piece. Gradually, the picture became clear. A British tanker had reached the front line during one of the most dramatic battles of the war. He had entered a battlefield filled with uncertainty. He had followed scattered clues without understanding their full meaning. Then, in the distance, one unmistakable silhouette had transformed those clues into reality. A Tiger II. For a brief moment, everything depended upon what happened next. The encounter captured the essence of armored warfare during the Second World War. Technology mattered. Training mattered. Courage mattered. Yet uncertainty often mattered most of all. Crews rarely possessed complete information. Decisions were made with limited knowledge and little time. That was true for the British tanker. It was equally true for the German crew inside the Tiger II. Both sides faced fear. Both sides faced risk. Both sides operated within circumstances larger than themselves. Today, visitors traveling through the Belgian countryside may find it difficult to imagine the violence that once shook those fields and roads. The villages are quiet. The roads are peaceful. The scars of war have largely faded, but beneath that calm landscape lies the memory of moments like this one. A tanker moving toward the front, fresh tracks crossing a muddy road, strange reports from nervous civilians, a damaged vehicle hinting at unseen danger, a dark shape appearing far away, binoculars rising, recognition arriving, and the sudden realization that one of the most feared tanks of the Second World War was staring back across the battlefield. The wrecks eventually disappeared. The smoke faded. The soldiers moved on. Yet the story remained. Because in the end, the most powerful part of this battle was not the Tiger II itself. It was the uncertainty before it appeared. The unanswered questions. The scattered clues, the growing sense that something dangerous waited ahead. And then, at last, the moment when the puzzle was solved. A British tanker reached the front line. Then a Tiger II appeared in the distance. And for a few unforgettable minutes in the frozen fields near Celles during Christmas 1944, the outcome of survival depended on who could solve the battlefield's deadly puzzle first.